Hi, I'm Mark Reinig. My wife is one of the MIDI for Kids teachers here in Missouri, and I happen to own a recording studio, and I was asked by Jim and my wife Becky to do a little bit of training for everyone that you might get a little information on how to do this daunting task of recording. And it's not a daunting task. It's just going to take some real basics. This first segment, I'm going to talk just a little bit about the connecting devices. You're going to be picking up either from a keyboard or you're going to be picking up from a microphone. And I think the very first thing that we need to understand are the cables that are going to be used. First of all, I'm assuming in your school you have a microphone. Microphones come in two different arrays. There's one that has a connection that has three little prongs, and you've probably seen this in your various works with microphones. We call that an XLR. You don't need to know why it's called an XLR, but the end of the mic goes to the cord and snaps in. Okay? That's how we interface a mic cord to a microphone. Okay? There are some other microphones that are the less expensive ones that will have a connection that looks like this. This looks like a guitar cord if any of you have played with an electric guitar or been around electric guitars. We call this a 1/4-inch cord. So I'm going to be defining the names of these cords. 1/4 inch is because it's a 1/4 inch thick, and that's just what we call it. We call it a 1/4-inch cord. More than likely, you'll have the XLR type if you take the microphone that's in the gymnasium that they use to announce the games. It'll probably be an XLR. For connecting the keyboards, more than likely we will be using the direct output from the headphones, and we have a series of connections that we're going to define here. If I don't drop everything. This is what we call a stereo mini cord. Now if you look at it, it's very small. It looks kind of like the guitar cord, the 1/4-inch cord, except it's much smaller. And it also has these bands around here that allows the single cord to be able to run stereo, which means a left and a right. Okay? This is a handy device. It's something that we can find in Walmarts. And on the other end, we have these familiar looking devices that are used for hooking stereos up. They call these RCAs. So I will refer to these as RCAs and these as stereo minis. When we use headphones in an MP3 player or something like that, this is the plug-in that you use to hook up your little headphone earbuds or whatever. Okay? Now, when we're using headphones, there are two different standards for the headphone outputs. There's these small ones that we see on a lot of our little devices. And for the keyboards, the headphone outputs are much larger. And most of the time when you buy these headphones that have the mini connectors like that, it'll come with an adapter. And what's really cool about this, snap this, we now have the full-size 1/4-inch stereo adapter. This allows us to be able to get out of the keyboard, out of the headphone output of the keyboard, which is a stereo output, and allows us to get into two connectors like this. This is our first interface to get us from the keyboards into where we need to record. We have one other cord that may be a useful cord, and as we get into this session, I'll show you this cord. This is a stereo mini to stereo mini. Okay, and again, this can be made into a full size by just adding the connector cord that I'd showed you previously. And this will allow us to get into some of the computer interfaces that we're dealing with. So the two cords for interfacing with the computer will be either with this cord or with these cords, and I'll explain that as we go along. Thank you.